What's up, guys? Jeremy Clark here at Phil's Jackson on Twitter, coming to you from the Premium Tier Futures Discord. You can find us at Premium FTS on Twitter, and you're welcome to join. It's free. We trade every day, Monday through Friday, at the NYSE Open. So look for a link in the comments if you wish to join. And I'm just going to jump right in. We're talking about range trading, and one of our members had an excellent trade today. I just wanted to go over, first of all, how we find the range. I'm going to set an arrow here. This was roughly the entry, and will give us a take profit right near the midline, which I believe was like 50, 69, 50, 50 or something to that effect. So anyway, looking to the left, you can see that price came down. There was a big sell-off, and then it formed this range. You can see the gray shaded area, the volume profile, and that first corrective move is not where I would put my range start, but usually the second. And so we got the second pullback right here. This was at the edge of the volume profile, and then where it dipped to, I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. I think that this is something I'm constantly kind of trying to reassess, make sure I have the support and resistance correct. So I'm going to go with that for now. Basically this down move, correction, another down move, hit right there, correction, and then you can see we're getting pretty good respect. I actually like it when I get more touches, so I'm going to go ahead and move this back to where I had it, which was right there, because if you're trading a range, you don't want price to end before it hits the level that you're targeting. So we've got a nice touch here at the top, another touch, false breakout, went to the midline. We've also got VWAP and VPOC. We've got the value area high, which is this gold line, value area low. Another test of the bottom, test of the midline, test of the bottom, test of the top, test of the bottom. This is where things got interesting. It kind of faked out like it was going to fail here, went into this little diagonal, and when this diagonal broke, that was a beautiful trade entry right there. Took it right to the midline, which was roughly speaking 50.82. Went up to VPOC, which was a little 52, 53, all the way up to the value area high, all the way up to the range high. You can see it never made it to the pre-market high, which that's not even pre-market high. Oh yes, it is right here. Let's see. I'm going to lower this. Yeah, session, pre-market session was right there. And you can say price came back and retested the pre-market session high. You have yesterday's previous day high at 69.8475. Not even close. We're clearly in a range. The bottom, yesterday's previous day low, 69.36. And let's change this to our pre-market low, which was right at the range low. So how to trade these ranges? I'm going to look for this initial test tested the high, and then kind of expect a diagonal. We got a great big diagonal right here. So if I was going to play this, this might be one of the first entries. Let's get rid of that. Might take an entry right there with a stop below the pre-market low, which was 69.40, let's say 69.43, and target the midline, which again was like, roughly speaking, it looks like 69.51, 69.52, and you can see price came right up to that, hit VPOC, hit VWAP. There's a lot of volume and a lot of confluence right here. I don't necessarily like targeting VWAP, or if VWAP is in the way, I'll try to take profit before price gets to it, just because a lot of times it'll sell off. You see it did that right here. We got this little heart stopper move. Price came up, and before it got to the midline, it dropped back down to the EMA. Then it finally broke through. Came back and tested the bottom, and this would be, you know, potentially, if you had high confidence in this range, I would look at this as, you know, the first entry did not make it much past the midline, but the second time we tested the bottom, it did. So let's just put this guy right over here. So on a second hold of the bottom, the likelihood that it goes for a full range traverse is higher. If it only made it halfway, which it did here on this first move, then the second move is going to have a high likelihood of a range traverse. That's assuming everything goes well in it and you get continuation. So keeping that in mind, now you got a false breakout. For me, I might be hesitant here that it's going to do a full traverse, and I might target the midline, which we got. It's really a nasty diagonal here. I don't like trading in diagonals because they're very choppy and sort of hard to it's hard to know which way they're going to go. So you can see you got this diagonal. It kind of popped out, got stuck at value area high 3 times, 4 times. On the third time, we did get the final range traverse, but this is just all chop. And this brings us into the open, which is this line right here. So that was going off of yesterday's range. Again, this is just a nasty diagonal, but when a diagonal breaks, it can be pretty lucrative. So it's kind of messy here. I would think after all of this mess around the center line, around VPOC, once we got a diagonal test at the bottom, this would also be pretty good entry right here. You could very easily target the midline, which again was like 69.52, and you see this one made the full range traverse. And then you could have played a false breakout right there. And this one made a nice drop, full range traverse to the bottom. You could have gotten out right there. And then this one, this was the trade that we were all kind of watching this morning. I think a couple of our members, I think Dave and Sue were in this trade. And you can see it started to fake out and do a little false breakout. And it really, it was this diagonal that it went into that was so tricky. And when that diagonal broke, that would have been, you know, a good entry either off the bottom. I like to see 3 full touches on a diagonal. This one only really gave us 2. We got a top, bottom, and took off. So I probably personally would have waited if I was, you know, trading this and I was in my ideal, making sure I caught everything perfectly. I would prefer to wait until this broke the top of the trend line, the diagonal trend line. So maybe right there. And then being conservative, I would probably target the midline. not knowing if this is going to go all the way or not, which it ended up doing. And I think one of our members caught the full and another one caught the midline, which is great. Then you'll notice we got another false breakout. It's just been one false breakout after another, followed by a range traverse. And this one gave us another full traverse from the top. It was actually pre-market high where it broke down. There is a second entry here, second entry short. So looking at this from the top, there's your first entry short, and there's your second entry. So you could have entered off of this signal bar right here and had your stop loss, a good 2 to 3 point stop loss there, maybe. As long as this top of the line near 69597 held, then that would be a good entry and give you a full range traverse. Again, we've got VWAP and VPOC right next to each other. You've got the midline. It just means there's a lot of volume and a lot of chop is going to happen in this middle. So you notice these wicks. This would have been pretty sketchy if you had held. You had price keep bouncing up, bouncing up, bouncing up. So, for me personally, I would have targeted the midline and just been done with it. But if you're already in profit, you could have held through these wicks in this little consolidation and held all the way to the bottom. So good stuff. Good. It's actually looks decently tradable despite the low volume. So moving on, let's take a look here. So going over to the DOM on ES, I just want to go over some settings and show my trading setup and just kind of explain what everything is. First of all, on the left here, we've got the auction Vista, and I have this set, I think, to the depth is set to 3. So I see a lot of these like holes in liquidity. If liquidity isn't really stacked up high enough within 3 levels of depth, it just shows as black. You can see we're getting some absorption, or at least an attempt by buyers. You can see there was a lot of buyers here, a lot of buyers here, and it failed. So there wasn't an absorption right around 48. And if we roll over to the DOM and look at that, you can see all these buyers on the delta. You can see where the delta flipped right here at 48.75. So they would need to get past that point. That means that sellers are stepping in and pushing the delta into sellers instead of buyers. They need to get past that for price to move back up to VWAP and VPOC, which is 69.5150. I have these highlighted. This is set to 15 levels of depth. You notice down here is 1700 roughly and 1680. Price is very balanced on both the bid and the ask. So there's a lot of back and forth trade. That's to be expected in a range. Doesn't make for easy trading. I would say just looking at this, the ask is stacked a little bit higher, or has more limit orders, resting limit orders waiting. For me personally, if I hadn't gotten in at that bottom of the range, which was 69.44 down here. So once price tested below the value area low of the session profile, right around 69.44 was a good entry, and you'll notice the delta flip right there, 69.4450. That's where the buyers stepped in and started taking out all these trap sellers at the bottom of the range. The bottom of the range that I was just showing you on the NTA chart. So right now price is approaching VWAP. Obviously that's acting as a magnet, but you'll notice there's not a lot of liquidity to the upside or the downside. Granted, we are at 12:30 Eastern, so well after the high volume open. I'm just going to show you my the settings here. Let's turn that off. That, by the way, this is the enables the trading. So I don't want to accidentally send an order. So going into the settings, I'm going to look at my bid depth, and I have it set to 120. So that would be 120 limit orders or higher are going to get highlighted. And let's just change this to 150. And this is something I kind of change constantly based on what the market's doing, how much volume is in the market. Okay, so we changed both of those, and you'll notice all of a sudden the ask doesn't look like it's so heavy. So maybe that's too much. I'm going to take this back down to 130. Yeah, there we go. So we are getting some bids and asks highlighted. And let's go ahead and do the same for the bid depth. Okay. So based on today's volume, there's just not like a huge amount of large limit orders, excessively large limit orders within this 15 levels of depth. And, you know, we're about 1,600, 1,700 orders on each 15 levels. So price is very balanced, and you see that being reflected right here on the auction Vista. So this is, you know, could be gaining strength to go higher. We've got that magnet of VPOC and VWAP sitting there around 5150. That sounds like it's crazy. You'll notice I have the yesterday's levels, value area high and stuff highlighted on the auction Vista. And the way to do that, there is there's an arrow. There it is. So you click this arrow, and that will usually get these guys to start populating. I'm sorry, I usually get the labels for yesterday's important levels to populate, such as that YPOC, yesterday's point of control. Okay, so looking up top, this banner up here, this oscillator, the scale, what do we call these? I forget. Power meter. This power meter up here is showing me, I believe this is set to, let's look it up because I can't remember. Let's go to power meters, and this is set to 3 levels of depth. So that's showing me within 3 levels of depth, which would be right around here on the spread. That's showing me that currently there's more limit orders. Well, now just flip. Now there's more bids being offered. In an up move, I want to see this actually turning red, because I want those nearest limit orders on the ask to be adding liquidity, assuming the expectation is for price to go up. And you see that reflected in this middle column here. We've got this 92. So 92 limit orders were just added to the ask, and as you can see on the tape right here, 98 were bought. And then you can see the number below on the bid is lower. So people are aggressively buying, they're aggressively filling these limit orders. That's bullish. We want to see price get over the IB low of 69.50.25. You can see it's breaking out of this consolidation. So if it starts holding above these volume circles around 48.50, that's a bullish sign. That's good. You want to see, you know, obviously price is well above the center line right here. That indicates the momentum's to the upside. And again, you see 110 orders just got added, 205 were just filled. You can see some limit orders are getting added to the ask right here. We got 147 highlighted, and you can see some aggression happening here. Notice the buyers are hitting the ask more so than the sellers. There's not as many sell orders printing on the bid, so it's all going to the buyers right now. Buyers are eating up these limit orders, so it's looking bullish. But again, we don't have a lot of liquidity up here. It's going to need liquidity to continue. So they may just keep adding it as they go here. That's something to watch. But we've got 115 coming in. We've got 225 and 150. So the sellers are kind of fighting back here. You notice this was heavy sellers right around 49.50, and the bid just keeps filling. So buyers are aggressive. We had 149 print on the tape against 44 and 85, 200 to 85. Again, very bullish. They're adding liquidity to the ask. You want to see that middle line getting higher. And then just to show you what I meant, going back up to the power meter at the top, I want to see this flip red, because on those next 3 levels of depth, I want to see that they're adding liquidity with just like that. So you got 300 to 250. And then down below, I want to see this next power meter turning blue. And this power meter is based off the tape. And I'm just going to click into that and see what we have it set at. So if I pull this over, so this second highest power meter, this is 2 power meters combined in one. And let's see what we have it set at. So we've got the shorter term tape set to 60 seconds and the longer term tape set to 300 seconds. So that would be the short term at the top, this like 468 to 374, and this would be the 300-second one. I like to see them both lining up. I want to see these turning blue, and I want to see the top one turning red. They're providing liquidity, and then they're buying that liquidity. So that's just another thing that I use to confirm the move, in addition to this quotes delta, which is really, really, really important. Okay, so that's the settings on the power meter tape. And then I just want to go back and show you this, the settings on the delta. Okay, I'm calling it the delta. It's actually the snapshot depth. And that's this middle column right here. I think in Bookmap it's called the quotes delta or something. So I used to use Bookmap and I get those confused. But the snapshot depth. So this is a snapshot of what's happening on the bid and the ask, the blue and red columns at price. I only want 2 levels because I really just want to see that first level filling in whatever direction. So right now you can see it's filling on the bid. Now it flipped, it's filling again on the ask. I want to see those asked orders growing, and that would be what's happening right in here. So you see this 94, 97, it's on the ask. These are orders getting filled, and then let's see when they start to add. We got 240. So I think, there we go. So that little 92, I think there's a little, maybe a hidden order, iceberg happening right there. Looks like it's trying to fill, but it's causing some resistance. So you'll see these, like this 100 lot, will just keep refilling right at the best ask price, or the one below it is also refilling. And that caused price to kind of fall off a little bit. So just to go over, again, this is another reason why I accidentally called it the delta. So I have this set to original for the snapshot, and if you set it to the delta, it's kind of the opposite. it'll show you, for example, if price is going up, then the price at the bottom will be higher. Whereas if you have it set to original and price is going up, the price at the top will be higher. And that's just because of the math of the delta. For me, visually, I just want to see orders coming in from the ask and getting filled. And I want to see bid orders stepping in on the bid to catch those prices. Again, it looks like we hit that iceberg order. 200 lots lately often represents a point where price will struggle on the ask. You'll notice we've got a 200 lot down here on the bid as well. So price is pretty balanced, but check out what's happening on the power meters. So this one is totally red. The longer term 300-second is buyers. The shorter term is going to the buyers. These are both kind of turning blue. I'd like to see them both turn aggressively blue together. And then I'd like to see the top one turning red. I'd like to see those orders coming in higher on the ask. And that would indicate more upside. And here we are, at VPOC. This is going to be the heaviest level of trading. And if you'll notice, let's see if I can bring in my chart. Where'd it go? You'll notice the midline of the chart is also 69.52. VPOC is 69.54. That would be yesterday's VPOC. So 69.52. Here we are, 69.52, roughly corresponding to the session VPOC of 51.50. So it's just maybe 2 or 3 tick difference. This is the highest area of trading, both on that range, that daily range, going back 2 or 3 days at least, and also for today's session. So 51.50 indicating y'all are crazy for trying to trade right here. I always think that. Every time I see 51.50 pop up, I'm like, somebody's having a joke. Someone's having a laugh on us. Again, I don't enter trades on the midline. So just to go back and clarify that. Price is right at the midline, 69.52. It's right at VWAP. I don't enter trades here. This would be a kill zone. You want to wait until you hit the extremes and fade the extremes. And just looking at what that looks like visually on the session profile. There's your extreme, there's your value area high, also IB high, our initial balance high, first hour of trading high. And you can see the volume just tapered off when we got up here, and there wasn't enough volume to support move higher. There was a good chunk right at 69.60.50, so I guess that was probably marking the top. Same thing with the bottom, it kind of tapered off. So the way it looks right now, we kind of have excess. It didn't trickle all the way down to like a 2 lot, but 35 lots at the high is pretty small. So there's not a lot of interest as of yet on that range high, and there's not a lot of interest at the range low. And let's just see if we can get this. Okay, my drum machine is kind of signaling that we're done here. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Feel free to ask questions or comments in the comment area. Hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and feel free to give us any feedback or comments are welcome. Again, you guys are welcome to join the Discord Premium Tier Futures. And yeah, we're gonna have some low volume trading for the rest of the year. I think tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so you guys trade safe, use stop losses, and I will get back to you on the next one. All right, cheers.